As the alien delegation departed Earth's atmosphere, emergency sessions convened in capitals across the globe. The United Nations Security Council gathered in New York, faces grim as satellite footage of the Confederation vessel's departure played on wall-mounted screens. They positioned observer craft at the edge of our system. General Rodriguez reported, her holographic pointer indicating blinking lights beyond Mars. 7 vessels, minimal weapons signatures but advanced scanning capabilities. They're establishing a quarantine. President Chen paced the length of the conference table, and were certain about their intentions. Their translator was quite clear. The Secretary of State replied, "They consider us dangerous primitives to be contained until we're sufficiently evolved to join their confederation, without our weapons, of course." The Russian representative leaned forward. "Their arrogance may be our advantage. They clearly don't recognize our technological capabilities. Or our resolve," added the Chinese delegate. "They evolved seeking consensus. We evolved fighting for survival." President Chen stopped pacing, her decision crystallizing. "We have one advantage. They underestimate us. They see our divisions and conflicts as weakness, not understanding that struggle has forged our greatest strengths." She turned to face the assembly. "I propose we activate the Artemis Protocol immediately." Murmurs spread through the chamber. The Artemis Protocol had been theoretical, a global cooperation initiative designed for existential threats like asteroid impacts or climate collapse. Never had anyone imagined implementing it against alien containment. Every nation, every resource, focused on a single goal. Chen continued, "We build a fleet they won't expect, with technologies they can't imagine. Not for conquest, for freedom." Within days, the world transformed. Ancient rivalry set aside, military budgets redirected, scientific communities united across borders. Deep within mountains and beneath oceans, manufacturing facilities reconfigured for spacecraft production. University laboratories worldwide focused on reverse engineering fragments of Confederation technology, glimpsed during their brief visit. 3 months later, Alina Kovic stood before President Chen in an underground facility beneath the Baikonur Cosmodrome. At 33, Alina had distinguished herself commanding peacekeeping naval vessels in disputed waters, a background that made her uniquely qualify for humanity's greatest challenge. "Captain Kovac," President Chen greeted her. "Walk with me." They proceeded through security checkpoints into a massive chamber where engineers swarmed over skeletal frameworks of what would become navigation systems. "The Confederation thinks they understand us," Chen said quietly. "They've observed our broadcasts, our conflicts, our divided nations, but they've fundamentally misinterpreted what they've seen." Elena nodded. "They mistake our competition for weakness." "Exactly. They evolve through cooperation, developing technology to improve comfort. We develop technology to overcome threats, including each other." Chen stopped before a massive holographic display, showing technical schematics unlike anything Alina had seen before. "This is Project Retribution, the first of Earth's defense fleet." Elena studied the designs, a vessel unlike traditional naval ships or conventional spacecraft. Heavily armored, powered by theoretical propulsion systems, armed with weapons designed for precision rather than destruction. "It's magnificent," she whispered. "How long until completion?" 5 years for the prototype, 10 for a functional fleet. Chen turned to face her directly. "I need someone who understands what's at stake, someone who can command this vessel when the time comes. The Security Council has reviewed all candidates. We want you." Alina's eyes remained fixed on the schematics, mind already calculating tactical approaches, crew requirements, training protocols. "The Confederation thinks they've contained us," she said finally. "They have no idea what they've unleashed." President Chen smiled grimly. "Precisely, Captain. Precisely." Alina followed President Chen and Chief Engineer Tanaka through the cavernous interior of the Retribution, her footsteps echoing against metal walkways. Each section revealed new technological marvels, innovations born from a decade of humanity's unified purpose. The neural interface bridge is our greatest achievement, Tanaka explained, leading them into a circular chamber dominated by 7 command stations arranged in a horseshoe formation. Traditional controls would be too slow for combat scenarios. These interfaces allow direct thought-to-system communication. Alina approached the central station, the captain's position, where a sleek headset rested on a contoured chair. Neural interface. The risks must be substantial. They were, Tanaka acknowledged, until Dr. Okonkwo's breakthrough with quantum buffer algorithms. The system translates thought impulses into commands without neural damage. It's been successfully tested with simulator programs. Alina gently lifted the headset, feeling its surprising lightness. And reaction time. Near instantaneous. 300 times faster than manual controls. President Chen watched Alina's expression carefully. The Confederation doesn't have anything remotely similar. Their command structures require consensus among multiple officers before executing major actions. A strength in peaceful exploration, Alina observed. A critical weakness in combat. They continued their tour, passing through engineering sections where the ship's revolutionary propulsion system hummed with controlled power. The antimatter catalyst engine, developed through collaboration between CERN and laboratories across Asia, could achieve speeds that would leave Confederation vessels hopelessly outpaced. The weapons systems are equally impressive, Tanaka continued, pride evident in his voice as they entered a secure section requiring additional biometric authentication. Conventional explosives would be inefficient in space combat. Instead, we've developed targeted electromagnetic pulse technology. The engineering team demonstrated a miniature version of the system. A small drone deactivated instantly when targeted, then reactivated moments later. We can disable without destroying, Alina noted with approval. Confederation ships would be helpless, but their crews would survive. Exactly, President Chen affirmed. We're not building a fleet for slaughter. We're building it to demonstrate that humanity cannot be contained or controlled. As they departed the weapons bay, Alina paused before a viewport that offered a panoramic view of Mars and the bustling construction platforms surrounding the Retribution. In adjacent bays, 4 additional hulls were taking shape, sister ships that would form Earth's first deep space defense fleet. The supply chain logistics must be staggering, Alina remarked. How did we achieve this level of global cooperation? President Chen's expression turned contemplative. Ironically, we have the Confederation to thank. Nothing unites humans like a common adversary. Ancient enemies now work side by side. The Korean Peninsula unified within months of the containment. Middle Eastern nations established a joint aerospace initiative. Humanity's fractious nature transformed into our greatest asset. Diversity of thought focused toward a single goal. Alina watched as spacewalking engineers installed massive armor plates along the Retribution's forward section, and the Confederation remains ignorant of all this. Their observation vessels maintain the blockade, but their sensors can't penetrate the asteroid fields where we've hidden our manufacturing facilities. They report back that Earth appears to be accepting its containment, with only occasional probe launches testing their perimeter. Alina's expression hardened with resolve. Their complacency will be their undoing. Indeed, Tanaka agreed. They expect us to behave as they would, to resign ourselves to isolation, perhaps spend centuries slowly advancing until we're worthy of their acceptance. They don't understand human nature at all, Alina said quietly. When backed into a corner, we don't surrender. We innovate. We overcome. President Chen placed a hand on Alina's shoulder. Which is precisely why you're here, Captain. In 3 weeks, you'll begin assembling your crew. In 6 months, you'll start combat simulations, and in precisely 8 months, the Retribution will be ready for her first mission. Alina nodded, her eyes still fixed on the massive vessel taking shape before her. Breaking the blockade and changing the galaxy forever, President Chen finished. Commander Ziv's mandibles trembled as the human warship accelerated beyond his blockade fleet, its massive form shrinking rapidly against the starfield. 7 years of monotonous duty had left his crew unprepared for actual crisis management. Track them. Deploy pursuit vessels. He ordered, though he already knew it was futile. The human ship's velocity exceeded anything in the Confederation's capability range. "Sir, it's gone," his sensor officer reported, compound eyes blinking in confusion. "They've activated some form of faster-than-light drive we can't identify." Ziv slumped into his command chair. His career was over. The Council had given him one task: contain the humans, and he had failed spectacularly. Worse, the humans had revealed technological capabilities that should have been centuries beyond their development stage. "Send the alert to all Confederation worlds," he said heavily. "Priority emergency transmission. Include all sensor data of the human vessel." As the message transmitted across Confederation space, the ESS Retribution emerged from its experimental jump drive half a light year beyond the solar system. On the command bridge, Captain Kovic removed her neural interface headset, exhaling slowly as the connection between her mind and the ship's systems disengaged. "Jump successful," the navigation officer reported, checking diagnostics on her holographic display. "All systems nominal. No pursuit detected." Alina's first officer, Commander Rashid, whistled softly. "They didn't even attempt to fire on us. Complete tactical surprise." As expected, Alina replied, rising from her command chair to study the tactical display. Their containment strategy was diplomatic, not military. Their vessels lacked both the weapons and the tactical programming for actual combat scenarios. The bridge crew, handpicked from naval and air forces worldwide, maintained the disciplined calm they'd perfected during months of intensive training. This was humanity's first venture beyond their solar system, yet they operated with practiced precision. "Communications, send the confirmation signal to Earth Command," Alina ordered. "Phase 1 complete. Preparing for Phase 2. Lieutenant Commander Santos of the communications station nodded. "Transmission sent, Captain." Earth acknowledges receipt. He paused, listening to his earpiece. "President Chen sends her personal congratulations." Alina allowed herself a small smile. Informed the crew they performed admirably. Then set course for the Arcturus system. Standard stealth protocols. As the massive vessel recalibrated its systems for the longer jump to Arcturus, Alina retreated to her ready room adjacent to the bridge. The wall-mounted display showed the Retribution's sister ships still under construction in Earth orbit: the Defiance, Sovereign, Intrepid, and Dauntless. Each would be operational within months, forming humanity's first deep space defense fleet. Her communications console chimed with an incoming message from Earth Command. Admiral Rodriguez appeared on screen, her expression a mixture of pride and concern. "Magnificent work, Captain," she began. "The blockade fleet is in complete disarray. Their transmissions indicate they've never encountered anything like the Retribution." "Thank you, Admiral." The crew performed flawlessly. Rodriguez nodded. "Be advised that Confederation response is accelerating faster than our models predicted. They've called an emergency council session. Intelligence suggests they're mobilizing their reserve fleet." Alina frowned. "That's nearly 300 vessels. We anticipated a more measured response." "Fear drives decisive action, Captain. Your mission proceeds as planned. Reconnaissance of key Confederation worlds while remaining undetected. Meanwhile, we're accelerating completion of the fleet." Rodriguez's expression grew serious. "You've struck the first psychological blow. The Confederation now knows humans cannot be contained. And their fear? Growing by the hour. Our infiltration systems report panic among their leadership. They believe themselves technologically superior to us by centuries. Now they realize their error." Alina's expression hardened with resolve. "Let them worry. Phase 2 begins in 12 hours, mapping Confederation defense systems and gathering intelligence on their capabilities. Proceed with caution, Captain. Until the rest of the fleet is operational, the Retribution stands alone." "Understood, Admiral." Alina straightened. "But remember, They fear one human warship. Imagine their reaction when they see 5. Admiral Skrull reviewed the sensor data for the 8th time in his private research chamber aboard the Empirical Discovery. His species evolved from nocturnal hunters, giving him advantages in pattern recognition that other Confederation scientists lacked. Something about the human vessel's design principles nagged at his analytical mind. "Computer, magnify section J17 again," he instructed. A holographic display zoomed in on the Retribution's propulsion system. "Compare energy signatures with all known drive technologies in the database." "No exact matches found," the computer replied. "Closest approximation: theoretical models from Research Station Zenith, classified project designation, Horizon Breach." Skrull's breathing chambers expanded in surprise. The Horizon Breach project had been deemed too dangerous for practical application nearly a century ago. Its theoretical models suggested faster-than-light travel without conventional limitations, but with catastrophic energy requirements. The humans solved the energy problem, he murmured to himself. Fascinating. His observation continued for days as the Retribution conducted what appeared to be systematic sensor sweeps of the Arcturus system. The human vessel maintained a position behind the system's 4th planet, periodically launching small, stealthy drones that would vanish into faster-than-light travel toward different Confederation territories. Most disturbing was their crew efficiency. Through high-resolution imaging, Skrull documented human officers working for extended periods without rest cycles. Their physical endurance exceeded all Confederation species capabilities. While his own crew required rotation every 6 hours, humans maintained alert status for 3 times that duration. He recorded his observations in his private log. Their biology suggests an evolutionary path forged through consistent survival pressure. They possess redundant organ systems, remarkable tissue regeneration, and neurological pathways optimized for threat assessment. Even more remarkable is their hierarchical command structure. Decisions requiring committee consensus among Confederation vessels appear to be made instantly by their command officers. As he prepared another observation drone, the ship's alert system suddenly activated. "Proximity warning," the computer announced. "Human vessel approaching at intercept vector." Skrull rushed to the bridge, finding his crew frozen in alarm. On the main view screen, the massive human battleship loomed against the starfield, having somehow detected their position despite their advanced stealth systems. "How did they locate us?" his first officer whispered. "Our emission shielding is state-of-the-art." Before his control could respond, the communication system activated. A human female appeared on screen. Captain Kovac, her expression controlled but not hostile. The translation software converted her words. "Confederation research vessel, Empirical Discovery. This is Captain Alina Kovac of the Earth ship Retribution. Your observation has been noted for the past 5 days. Your stealth technology is impressive, but our sensors detected your quantum signature fluctuations." Skrull motioned for his communications officer to stand aside, taking the station himself. "Captain Kovac, I am Admiral Skrull of the Confederation Science Division. I apologize for the clandestine observation. Scientific curiosity outweighed diplomatic protocol." The human's expression softened slightly. "Scientific curiosity, I understand, Admiral. Hostility I do not tolerate. Your vessel has remained at observation distance rather than weapon range, which suggests your intentions are research-oriented." Skrull's mandibles clicked nervously. "Correct, Captain. The Confederation lacks dedicated warships. My vessel is purely scientific." "Then perhaps we can engage in something more productive than surveillance," Alina suggested. "A direct exchange of information. You wish to understand humans. We wish to understand the Confederation beyond the limited perspective offered by your diplomatic course." Skrull's scientific instincts overrode his caution. "A fascinating proposal. Would you permit a delegation aboard your vessel?" "Better," Alina replied. "Meet us at these coordinates in 24 hours. We'll establish a neutral communication outpost on the moon of Arcturus IV. Come unarmed and with a small delegation. We'll do the same." As the transmission ended, Scatrol faced his bewildered bridge crew. Prepare a research team. This is an unprecedented opportunity. His second officer approached cautiously. Admiral, the Council ordered observation only. Direct contact violates containment protocols. The humans have already broken containment, Scatrol replied, eyes fixed on the massive warship visible through the viewport. Better to understand them than fear them blindly. High Chancellor Meliora's bioluminescent appendages flashed with patterns indicating extreme agitation as Admiral Scatrol's unauthorized meeting with the humans became known to the Council. You deliberately violated containment protocols, she accused, her gelatinous form pulsing with stress indicators. Contact with these humans was expressly forbidden without full Council approval. Scatrol stood firm before the assembled representatives, his research data displayed on the chamber's main projection system. With respect, Chancellor, containment became impossible the moment their vessel breached our blockade. I chose understanding over ignorance. And what have you learned from this reckless encounter? Asked Councillor Thrix, her feathered crest vibrating with clear disapproval. That our assumptions about humans were catastrophically wrong, Scatrol replied, activating a holographic comparison between Confederation and human neural structures. They aren't primitive. They're different. Their evolution followed a path none of our species experienced. Constant adaptation to threats, both environmental and self-made. The display shifted to footage from the meeting on Arcturus Ivy's moon, Captain Kovac, and 3 human officers conversing with Scatrol's research team. The humans moved with purposeful efficiency that contrasted sharply with the deliberate, measured movements of Confederation species. Their captain offered terms, Scatrol continued. Not surrender, not allegiance, but mutual recognition. They seek acknowledgement as equals and open trade relationships. Representative Gornath rumbled from his silicon-based form. We cannot trust creatures that prioritize warfare. Their vessel alone reveals their aggressive nature. Their vessel reveals their history, Scatrol countered. They evolved defending themselves, first from predators, then from environmental challenges, finally from each other. Defense is ingrained in their psychology. The Council chamber erupted with conflicting opinions. Debate raged between those advocating immediate military response and those urging diplomatic engagement. Throughout the chaos, none noticed the small maintenance drone cleaning the chamber's upper ventilation system, its behavioral algorithms subtly modified by human programming expertise. Within the drone, microscopic transmitters captured every word, feeding directly to a quantum-encrypted channel monitored by Lieutenant Commander Jackson aboard the Retribution. It's working perfectly, he reported to Captain Kovac in her ready room. Full Council deliberations, completely unfiltered. Alina watched the alien debate with intense focus. Their fear is mounting. The militarists are gaining support. Is that what we want? Jackson asked. Their military response seems counterproductive to peaceful relations. It's exactly what we need, Alina replied. The Confederation must understand they cannot simply contain us, ignore us, or treat us as lesser beings. Sometimes respect begins with fear. On her private display, Alina monitored Earth's defense preparations. The Defiance had completed its shakedown cruise in the asteroid belt. The Sovereign and Intrepid were undergoing final weapons calibration. The Dauntless would be operational within weeks. Earth's orbital defense grid had expanded significantly, with automated defensive platforms positioned at strategic locations throughout the solar system. Incoming transmission from Admiral Rodriguez, Jackson announced. Alina accepted the call, noting the Admiral's grave expression immediately. Captain, our intelligence networks have confirmed the Confederation has formally authorized military action against Earth, Rodriguez reported. Their combined fleet is mobilizing. Over 300 vessels converging on your position. Alina's expression remained calm. Exactly as we anticipated. How soon until they arrive? Approximately 72 hours at their maximum velocity. Their technology is slower than ours, but their numbers are overwhelming. For one ship, Perhaps, Elena noted. Implement Phase 3. I'm returning to Earth immediately to assume fleet command. Rodriguez nodded. The 5 ships against 300. Are you certain this is the right approach? Completely, Elena replied. The Confederation needs to understand that humans aren't merely difficult to contain. We're impossible to defeat when defending our home. As the transmission ended, Elena turned to Jackson. Set course for Earth. Maximum speed. We have 3 days to prepare for the most important demonstration of force in human history. Grand Admiral Vorex watched the tactical display with mounting frustration as the human vessels continued their infuriating dance around his fleet. The Confederation's massive armada, the largest assembled in 8 centuries, should have overwhelmed 5 enemy ships through sheer numbers. Instead, the humans were systematically disabling his vessels without destruction, employing tactics that exploited weaknesses the Confederation never knew they had. Another 37 ships reporting complete systems failure. His second-in-command reported, voice strained. The humans are targeting command nodes with precision electromagnetic pulses. Our shield harmonics can't adapt quickly enough. Impossible, Vorex growled, his armored exoskeleton clicking as he paced the bridge. Their targeting systems shouldn't be able to identify our command structures so precisely. A communications officer interrupted. Admiral, we're receiving reports that the human fighters are broadcasting Confederation security protocols before attacking. They've somehow obtained our encryption codes. Vorex froze, suddenly understanding. The council chambers. That's how they knew our fleet movements, our security protocols, everything. They've been listening to our deliberations. On the tactical display, he watched the human flagship, the vessel designated Retribution, coordinate the smaller human ships with remarkable precision. Each moved in perfect synchronization, striking disabled Confederation vessels with secondary pulses when they attempted to restore power. Send in the reserve units, Vorex ordered. Full dispersal pattern. They can't disable all of us simultaneously. His tactical officer hesitated. Sir, dispersal would violate Confederation battle doctrine. Our communal defense systems require proximity to. The doctrine is failing us. Vorex slammed his armored fist against the command console. These humans don't fight according to any recognized pattern. Adapt or perish. Aboard the Retribution, Admiral Kovac monitored the Confederation fleet's shifting formation with intense focus, her neural interface translating tactical assessments directly into battle commands. They're finally dispersing, Lieutenant Santos observed, attempting to overextend our targeting capabilities. Elena nodded, a solid tactical adjustment, but too late. Commander Rashid, signal the Sovereign and Intrepid to execute Maneuver Theta. Defiance and Dauntless will continue primary engagement. Through her neural link, Elena felt rather than saw the human vessels respond, the Sovereign and Intrepid breaking formation to swing wide around the Confederation's flanking vessels. The electromagnetic pulse generators that served as the fleet's primary weapons recharge, their targeting systems linking through quantum entanglement to ensure synchronized strikes. Confederation vessels are attempting to regroup, Tactical Officer Lieutenant Chen reported. Their communication encryption is adapting. They are trying to lock us out. Too little, too late, Elena replied. Execute final strike pattern. Target their flagship specifically. Admiral Vorex needs to understand the futility of continued resistance. The human vessels converged their fire on the Confederation flagship, penetrating its defensive screens with precisely modulated electromagnetic pulses. On its bridge, Grand Admiral Vorex watched in horror as his systems failed in cascading sequence. Propulsion, weapons, life support backups, and finally primary power. Emergency lighting bathed the bridge in dim blue as Vorex slumped into his command chair. Status report, he demanded, though he already knew the answer. All primary systems offline, his second reported. 298 vessels disabled. Only 29 remain operational, and they're retreating from the engagement zone. The humans, Vorex asked. All 5 vessels remain fully operational. They've surrounded our disabled ships, but are making no move to destroy them. The officer paused, antenna twitching nervously. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human flagship. Admiral Kovic's face appeared on the emergency communication screen, her expression calm but resolute. Grand Admiral Vorex, this demonstration is complete. Your fleet is disabled but not destroyed. Your crews are unharmed. Now shall we discuss terms that don't involve treating humanity as a species to be contained. The neutral space station orbiting Jupiter gleamed in the gas giant's reflected light, its modular construction showcasing the remarkable engineering humans had achieved in mere months. Inside the central diplomatic chamber, Admiral Alina Kovic studied the assembled Confederation representatives, beings from species whose evolutionary paths diverged from humanity's millions of years ago. High Chancellor Meliora's translucent form pulsed with subtle color patterns that the human translators identified as uncertainty mixed with reluctant respect. Beside her, Admiral Skrull appeared more composed, his scientific curiosity evident in the way his sensor appendages oriented toward the human delegation. Your terms are surprisingly restrained. Meliora began, her translator converting bioluminescent pulses into human speech. Given your military superiority, many council members expected demands for territory or resource concessions. Alina maintained the practiced diplomatic expression she'd refined through countless simulations. Conquest isn't our objective, Chancellor. Earth seeks recognition as a sovereign power and the establishment of mutually beneficial trade relationships. Yet you built warships, countered Councillor Thrix, her feathered crest vibrating with skepticism. Vessels designed specifically for combat. We built defensive capabilities because your Confederation attempted to contain us, Alina replied firmly. Humanity has learned through bitter experience that peace requires strength. We didn't build our fleet to conquer. We built it to ensure we would never be subjugated. Representative Gornath shifted his crystalline structure, producing sounds that translated as contemplative. Your technology exceeds our projections by centuries. How did you advance so rapidly? Alina exchanged glances with Dr. Okonkwo, Earth's chief scientific representative, who nodded subtly. Necessity, Representative Gornath. When the Confederation established its blockade, Earth united as never before. Our greatest minds focused on a single goal: freedom. Different evolutionary pressures create different strengths. Your species evolved toward consensus and cooperation. Ours evolved through competition and adaptation to threats. Admiral Skrull leaned forward, which explains your neural interface technology. Your species can process threat responses orders of magnitude faster than any Confederation species, a legacy of predator avoidance in our evolutionary history, Dr. Okonkwo confirmed, combined with millennia of warfare that selected for rapid tactical decision-making. Chancellor Meliora's color patterns shifted to what the translators identified as concerned realization. So you evolved as warriors. We evolved as survivors, Alina corrected gently, capable of both terrible destruction and remarkable creation. The same drive that built our warships also cured our diseases, restored our damaged ecosystems, and created art that speaks across cultural boundaries. The diplomatic teams worked tirelessly over the next 24 hours, crafting what would become known as the Jupiter Accords. Earth would join the Confederation not as a subject, but as a partner, granted equal voting rights in the Council. Human vessels would be permitted throughout Confederation space, and trade routes would open immediately. Most significant was the final provision. Earth would share defensive technologies, but not weapons systems, with all Confederation members, while receiving access to the Confederation's vast scientific database. As Chancellor Meliora's appendage pressed against the biometric signature field, officially recognizing the treaty, she addressed Alina directly. When we first saw your battleship, fear took hold of us. We believed we faced conquerors. And now? Alina asked. Meliora's translator conveyed her thoughtful response. Now we wonder if perhaps you might become protectors instead. The Confederation's borders extend beyond the regions you've seen, Admiral. There are threats we've encountered that our peaceful coalition is ill-equipped to handle. Alina's expression registered controlled interest. What kind of threats? Chancellor Meliora's color patterns darkened. Species that evolved along paths even more aggressive than humanity's. Entities that view our peaceful nature not as enlightenment, but as weakness to be exploited. I believe, she continued, that the galaxy arranged this meeting between our civilizations for reasons beyond either of our understanding. Perhaps humans, with your unique evolutionary gifts, are precisely what the Confederation needs to survive what's coming. Admiral Alina Kovic stood at the observation window of New Harmony Station, watching as a mixed fleet of human and Confederation vessels conducted joint training exercises against simulated threats. The massive space station, constructed at Earth-Moon Lagrange Point 4, served as the command center for the newly formed Joint Defense Initiative. 5 years had transformed the relationship between humanity and the Confederation beyond anyone's expectations. What began as fear had evolved into a partnership that leveraged the unique strengths of all species involved. The Xantar pilots are adapting well to our tactical systems, Commander Rashid noted, joining Elena at the viewport. Their natural spatial awareness gives them advantages even our best pilots can't match. Elena nodded. And our engineering teams have successfully integrated Petrov crystalline computing technology into the new defensive platforms. Each species contributes what evolution granted them. Below them in the training center, young officers from dozens of worlds practiced emergency response protocols. Human instructors taught Confederation species combat tactics and crisis management, while alien scientists helped humans refine their understanding of exotic physics and xenobiology. Admiral, the Arcturian delegation has arrived, Lieutenant Santos announced, approaching with a data tablet. Their representatives are waiting in Conference Room Alpha. Alina straightened her dress uniform. The Arcturian hegemony, a coalition of species from a neighboring galactic sector, had requested this meeting after observing the rapid integration of human and Confederation forces. Their initial diplomatic overtures carried subtle undertones of concern about the changing power dynamics. In the conference room, Alina found herself facing representatives whose body language reminded her of the Confederation's initial approach to Earth. Cautious, slightly superior, fundamentally unprepared for humanity's direct approach. The Arcturian hegemony welcomes this opportunity for cultural exchange. Their leader began. A tall, ethereal being whose translucent skin revealed complex circulatory patterns. Though we admit confusion regarding your alliance structure, these Confederation species clearly possess more advanced scientific knowledge than humans, yet you coordinate their defense forces. Chancellor Meliora, now a close ally, answered before Elena could respond. The hegemony misunderstands our relationship. We do not measure species by identical metrics. The Confederation's scientific achievements complement humanity's protective capabilities. We are stronger together than separate. The Arcturian's expression shifted subtly. Yet these human battleships lead your combined fleets. We've observed their vessels, impressive constructions, clearly designed for warfare. Does this not contradict the peaceful intentions you claim? Elena stepped forward. There's an ancient human saying, if you want peace, prepare for war. Our ships enable diplomacy by ensuring security. The strongest position from which to negotiate peace is one where conflict becomes unnecessary. The Arcturian delegation departed hours later, their initial condescension replaced with cautious respect. As the meeting concluded, Alina returned to the observation deck where a new class of vessels underwent final inspection. Sleek ships that combined human tactical systems with Confederation scientific innovations. Chancellor Meliora joined her, her translucent form shimmering in the starlight. The Arcturians remind me of the Confederation before we encountered humanity, so certain of our evolutionary superiority. Alina nodded. They'll learn as you did that evolution takes many paths. Yours led to remarkable cooperation and scientific advancement. Ours forged us into warriors who eventually learned to be peacekeepers. Below them, cadets from 100 worlds practiced maneuvers in simulator pods. Among the stars, joint patrol vessels maintained the expanding borders that allowed commerce and cultural exchange to flourish. When we first saw your battleships, Melior reflected, fear took hold of us all. We saw only weapons of war. And now? Elena asked. Now we understand what truly makes humans dangerous, Melior replied, her colors shifting to patterns indicating profound respect. Not your weapons or your warships, but something far more powerful, your capacity to transform from warriors into guardians, from conquerors into protectors. That adaptive potential is why the galaxy needed you. Elena watched as the newest vessel in the joint fleet, the Unity powered up its systems for the first time, its hull bearing the emblems of both Earth and the Confederation. Perhaps that's the greatest lesson from all this. Sometimes what begins in fear can end in something much more valuable. Trust, Melior agreed. And understanding, Elena finished, her gaze turning toward the stars where new challenges and new allies awaited.